everyone, Chris here and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to share with you my TBR for Polarthon, the Whiteout. So this is a month round long of Polarthon, which is hosted by Jade from Jade Reads. Her channel and the announcement video will be linked in the description below. We have a new bingo board this year and there are a lot more prompts on it. And I am definitely going to be trying to white out the board, which is a pun on blacking out the board in bingo, but we're whiting it out because, you know, polar bears. And I am very excited to dive in. A lot of these prompts are similar, so I'm sure that I could have done this with less books, but we're going to see if I can get through all of these books because I have picked out a book for each and every prompt on the board. So first we're going to go with blue cover, and for this you need to read a book that has a blue cover or blue on the cover, and I'm going to read 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. This is the second book in the Regency Fairy Tales series. I have no idea what this one is about, but I really enjoyed the first one and I read that in January, so I'm hoping I can continue the series in February, and this gave me a really good reason to do so because, I mean, this is absolutely perfect for blue cover. Next, for snowy setting, I'm going to read What Was the Children's Blizzard of 1888, and I get the feeling it's going to be an extremely snowy setting if it's during a blizzard. I feel like I've read a historical fiction that references this event, but I don't remember which one or why, so I'm very excited to learn about it. This is one of the Who HQ books. They're middle grade nonfiction, and I'm excited to get to this and learn some basic information about this particular blizzard. Then, for chilly vibes, I'm going to continue with a Who HQ book and read What Was the Ice Age? Because I feel like reading about the Ice Age is going to give you chilly vibes. The cover gives me chilly vibes. And again, I would like to learn some basic information about the Ice Age. I think the Who HQ books are really fun at giving you, like I said, basic information on a topic of your choosing. And they usually, yes, have a bibliography in the back, which will tell you if the books are for young readers or not, which means you can always get more information on the topic you're reading about by checking the bibliography in the back, which I think is really cool. So I will be reading this for chilly vibes. Then for black cover, I'm going to read Exit Strategy because this is the cover I had that had the most black on it. This is the fourth book in the Murderbot Diary series, and I believe I saw something about this being like the final book in the original format, because like I think it was supposed to be like a 4-book series, and so this should be the original end, but we've got more books since then, so I'm curious to see how this one ends, because I feel like if it was supposed to be the end, then a lot of things are going to wrap up in this one, which will also make me curious where we're going if it does. So very excited to continue on with this series in February. Then for cozy vibes, I'm going to read Somewhere Beyond the Sea. This is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. And I know The House in the Cerulean Sea gives me all of those cozy vibes, so I'm expecting the same thing from its sequel. I know nothing about this, but I'm looking forward to being back with the characters I fell in love with in the first book. I'm actually planning on rereading the first book in February as well, so definitely looking forward to all of those cozy vibes and to finally get to check out the sequel. Then we have Polar Fantasy, and I'm not at all surprised to see this considering Jade loves a polar fantasy, and that's usually a central theme to this readathon is to read a polar fantasy. So for this, I'm going to read The Ice Children by M.G. Leonard. M.G. Leonard is one of the authors of the Adventures on Train series, which I have really enjoyed. And in this one, it says, at the stroke of midnight on the dawn of December, 5-year-old Finn Albedo is found frozen in the city park standing on a pedestal of ice. His heart is beating, he is smiling serenely, but no one can wake him. Finn's big sister Bianca suspects that the beautiful sparkling book Finn got from the library has something to do with it. But the book has vanished. Does this tall, mysterious stranger who first discovered Finn know more than they will admit? Each day, more children are found frozen, and Bianca realizes she's running out of time. Her quest to discover the truth and rescue her little brother hurls her into a fantastical winter wonderland, full of beauty and danger, where all is not as it seems. Can Bianca save her brother and the other ice children before they are lost forever? This just sounded really interesting. I love the Adventures on Train series, so I'm hoping that this one will have some of those same fun vibes. And, of course, it is a polar fantasy, and I'm very curious to find out how Finn ended up being frozen in the middle of a city park. Then we have snowy cover, and for this I'm going to read Some Like It Cold because there is snow all over the cover. This is by Elle Macnicol. I have no idea what it's about, but it's by Elle Macnicol. that's enough for me. I've loved everything I've read by Elle McNichols, so I expect to love this one as well. And when I was looking for snowy covers, I saw this one and went, oh, well, I'm reading this now. So very excited to dive into this and find out what journey Elle McNichols is going to be taking us on this time. Then we have Animal Companion, and for this, I'm going to read Rusty Murdered Gentleman. This is the first book in the year-round Christmas mystery series. This is a reread for me, and in this one, we're following Mary Wilkinson, and she is the owner of Mrs. Claus's Treasures. She believes that because she knows how to decorate homes for the holidays due to being the owner of said store, she is a shoo-in for winning the semi-annual Santa Claus parade float. However, the tractor pulling her float is sabotaged, and she realizes there's a Scrooge in Christmastown. Mary isn't ready to point fingers, especially with a journalist in town writing a puff piece about Rudolph's Christmas spirit. But when she stumbles upon the reporter's body on a late-night dog walk and police suspect he was poisoned by a gingerbread cookie crafted by her best friend Vicky, Mary will have to put down the jingle bells and figure out who's really been grinching about town before Vicky ends up on Santa's naughty list. So I'm assuming that since she's out on a dog walk, she's going to have an animal companion. Most cozy mysteries do. I remember really liking this, but it's been a minute since I've read it. So when it came out of my TBR jar, I knew I had to reread it if I wanted to continue on with the series. And it is one of the 5 series I planned to catch up on or finish in 2025. So I was always going to reread it. I had just hoped to reread it closer to the end of year instead of the beginning. So I guess I'm getting an early start on this. And since I'm going to be reading it anyways, it worked out perfectly because this was the most obvious choice for Animal Companion. An odd choice for a polar-themed readathon is Worm. And I'm going to read Sabotage on the Solar Express. So this cover gives me all the Worm vibes, which is one of the things Jade said we could kind of interpret this prompt to be. And we're also going to be following Hal, who is our main character in the Adventures on Train series, which I did mention earlier in this video. And he's going to be going to Australia to ride on the Solar Express for its very first journey. The new train is a result of a worldwide contest held by tech billionaire August, whom they met on a previous trip in America. And the train was designed by a 14-year-old named Boaz. It looks like things are going to go wrong before they even leave the station. And it ends up being Hal, Boaz, and Marianne, August's daughter, who are going to investigate. So they're going to have to try to figure out who is sabotaging the Solar Express. I've really enjoyed the series. I'm so happy that I can finally dive back into it. I read Danger at Dead Man's Pass in January, and now I get to continue on with the series in February. And speaking of continuing the series, for Arctic Adventure, I'm going to read The Arctic Railway Assassin, which is the 6th book in the Adventures on Train series, and the most recent. I don't know if it's the final book, but it is the most recent from what I can tell. And this one says, Journey to the Arctic in a chilling Adventures on Trains mystery. And Hal is going to be climbing aboard the night train to Narvik, traveling to the Arctic Circle to see the Northern Lights. So I definitely think this is going to be an Arctic adventure. I'm very, very excited to be catching up / finishing this series. So quite looking forward to being able to read the last 3 books in very quick succession. Then we have Icy, and for this I'm going to read Phoenix and the Frost Palace. This is the 2nd book in the Fireborn series. And I don't know, a Frost Palace screams icy to me. It looks like we're going to be headed to Iceguard in this, which again screams icy, to help a long-lost witch clan that has been isolated for decades. I read the first book, I believe, last year during middle grade March, so I'm very excited to continue on with the series. And this fulfills the prompt, I believe, for X in the title for Phase Out Your Series-a-thon, so it's really cool that I got a book from that on here as well. Then we have nonfiction, and I've chosen to go with The Story of More, How We Got to Climate Change and Where to Go From Here by Hope Jahren. I figured that since we were doing a readathon that was all about saving the polar bears and kind of shining a light on them due to what climate change has done to their lands and where they live and hunt and breed and all of that, that it made sense for my nonfiction to be a book about climate change. So very excited to read this and to see what I can learn. And honestly, right now, I would love to know more about it in general because, I mean, I've barely got any snow, and yet there are people in Florida who just had their first blizzard and have 9 inches of snow. And if that doesn't scream climate change, I don't know what it does. So very interested to see what I learn in this one. Next, we have foiled cover, and for this, I'm going to dive back into the Polar Bear Explorers Club by reading the Ocean Squid Explorers Club. I believe I actually read the first Polar Bear Explorers Club specifically for a Polarthon, so I think it's real fun that I get to read the fourth book in the series for this round. I have wanted to get back to this for ages, but I could not access it in the States, and towards the end of the year, I ended up finally buying the last 3 books. So very excited to dive back into the series and see what everybody is getting up to. And there is foiling on the, there we go. I'm like trying to move it so that you can see the foiling. So there is foiling on this cover, and this prompt gives me the perfect excuse to dive back in, and I'm very, very excited. Then for winter read, I'm going to read The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. And this says, the bridge is out, the phones are down, and the most famous mystery writer in the world just disappeared out of a locked room 3 days before Christmas. So we're set at Christmas, so it's winter time, so winter read. And our 2 sleuths are Maggie and Ethan. Maggie is the queen of cozy mystery, and Ethan is the Mr. Big Time thriller guy, and they don't like each other. And they end up being invited to a Christmas house party of a reclusive fan, and weren't expecting it to be most powerful author in the world, Eleanor Ashley, the Duchess of Death herself. That night, the weather turns, and the next morning, Eleanor is gone. She vanished from a locked room, and now Maggie and Ethan need to figure out what happened. And it says, as the snow gets deeper and the stakes get higher, every clue will bring Maggie and Ethan closer to the truth and each other. So very curious about this one. Definitely feels like it's going to be a winter read. It's set around Christmas, so feels perfect for this prompt, and also feels quite different to the other stuff I have on my TBR, so it will be a nice little break. Then for Snowy, I'm going to read The Night Raven. This is a middle grade historical fiction mystery. It says, Mika is not your average orphan, and she's about to prove it. It's 1880, and in the frigid city of Stockholm, death lurks around every corner. 12-year-old Mika knows that everyone in her orphanage will struggle to survive this winter. But at least the notorious serial killer, the Night Raven, is finally off the streets. Or is he? Mika is shocked when a newborn baby is left at the orphanage in the middle of the night by a boy with a cryptic message. Who is he? And who is this dark angel he speaks of? When a detective shows up, Mika senses something even more sinister is going on. Drawn in by Mika's unique ability to notice small details, a skill Mika has always used to survive, the gruff Detective Hoff unwittingly recruits her to help him with his investigation into a gruesome murder. Mika knows she should stay far, far away, and yet, with such little hope for her future, could this be an opportunity? Maybe, just maybe, this is Mika's chance to be someone who matters. This sounds really interesting. I have the ebook of this, so it helps me work on my ebook goal while also fulfilling a prompt for this readathon, so I thought it was the perfect choice. And then the last prompt is white cover, and for this I'm going to read The Library of the Unwritten. This was the whitest cover I had on my TBR, so we're going with it. This was the winner for my queer book club, and so I will be reading it in February. I am quite excited to get to this one and see what I think of it, and see what everybody else who's reading it for my book club thinks of it as well. If you'd like to join us, there's a link to my Discord in the description below, and we'd love to have you read this with us in February and chat about it in my Discord. So there you have it. That is my Polarthon Whiteout TBR. I have a very ambitious TBR to be added to the already crazy TBR I had in February, but I could not resist taking part in Jade's readathon once again. I look forward to this every year, and we will see how many of those books I can get through in the month of February. Are you taking part in Polarthon? If so, let me know what the polar fantasy is that you chose for this year's round. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me polar-themed emojis. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!